Good morning, this is Evie from 5DSP, and I'm going to be doing today's video part 3 of the how to start a business with the a home embroidery heat transfer business. And today we're going to be discussing some of the, or showing you some of the machines that I've used with my business. Now, one of the things that I'm finding is today's one of my harder days because my allergies went nuts yesterday and all I did was sneeze, 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 sneeze. So today my ADD is kicking in really strong, like I want to be all over the place. What machine do I start first with? Where do I go? What do I say? So I'm hoping that with those of you that are like me, that you try and help yourself get a little bit focused. As I said in my first video, trying really to get focused, as hard as that is, because some days your mind is just all over the place. But as usual, I'm starting on my bicycle, and here I am. And I decided to use this shirt for my workout. It says Happy Camper, and I chose this because I'm having such a difficult time today, struggling with trying to keep all my distractions and the allergies and everything under control. But I'll be back in a little bit, and I will start with some of the machines to help us see how we can get there. Thank you. I'll see you in a bit. Hi everybody, I'm back, and I kept with my happy theme when I finished my exercise this morning, and I kept happy birthdays. Some of you are still in winter, hopefully not. Maybe seeing snow, hopefully not. So I'm hoping to keep myself motivated with this. I want to do a shout out to my son David, who has laid out a plan for me and is helping me with these videos to try and keep me focused and stay where I'm supposed to be. And he doesn't live near me, so half the time what we're doing is we're texting each other and we're trying to keep each other informed as to where I'm at. So thank you, David, for helping me with my videos. I really appreciate it. Now, as I was saying, today I'm going to start talking about, in part 3, some of my machines that I have and what happened and how I got started. I got started in embroidery by a fluke. In other words, I was a sewer and a quilter, and I had a Singer machine. My Singer machine broke down, and it was an older model. So when I went to the store, they told me it was going to cost too much to fix compared to getting a new machine. When I went looking for new machines, they said, hey, why don't you get, instead of just a sewing machine, get a sewing machine combo that has embroidery, and you can do quilting, you can do sewing. And I'm thinking, well, why would I need that? I don't know anything about embroidery. But they said, go ahead and do that, because you might get interested in embroidery in the long run. Well, needless to say that I ended up getting a Babylock machine. But like I said, I didn't know anything about it, so it stayed in the box for a year. Some of you do that, some of you don't. Some of you are like me, and some of you are just like, whoa, why you have it in a box? Just take it out and get to work. Well, as everything else, I got scared of this machine, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, it has too many parts. Well, let me explain to you. This is the Babylock Allure Plus, and it comes with a cover on it, and it looks like this. Now, if you saw my part 2 video, some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, she has way too many machines, and I would never be able to get to that. You start off slow, and you may decide that machine that you have will work for the projects that you're doing and the projects that you want for your business. If you see this Baby Allure Plus, just so that you have an idea, it comes so that this is for the part of sewing. I don't use it now because the embroidery part of it broke. And I took it to the shop, and they said it's going to cost too much money. Of course, that's what they use. And so I started looking for another machine. The reason for that they convinced me on that was because if you look over here, on the older machines, you have to have a card reader. They have a USB port like the new ones do, but this is not the same type of USB port that we use nowadays. So this machine for embroidery does not work at all because my card reader and the USB port are outdated, and they don't make things for them. You have to get them on eBay and all. But this was a starter machine for me, and I really and truly liked it. The problem that I had with it was this. It came with this 5x7 frame. 5x7 gives you enough room to do smaller designs. And the problem was that when I started taking classes, the designs were bigger than that, or they were like 5x9, so I couldn't use this frame. And my very first class was people had all different types of machines. And my machine, I just had to sit there on the sideline because the frame, the hoop was too small for the projects they were doing. So I just got to actually stand around and watch everybody else do it. But when you're starting out, if you're trying to sell towels, if you're trying to sell different things, like little monogram on a shirt, you can do that with this. So that would work. Then it also had this hoop here, which is a 5x12 hoop. And the funny thing about this was that I thought this was another hoop. So I actually used it as a hooping thing. And I told them in the class, hey, why can't I use that? The problem was it was a 5 and the 5 didn't work. So I still couldn't use it because the designs on the USB that they had didn't work for me. It was too small. The hoop was too small. But I did use it as a hoop. That is actually a multi-step hoop, which, in other words, if you have a design that's too big, you just put, and it's continuous. So you start off at one part of the design, and then you just move, you unhoop it, and you have it all aligned, and you move it down. So that's what this hoop is actually for. Now, when I realized and I started working on things, the 4x4 hoop was actually a better hoop when I was doing little kids onesies and other things like that, because when you use the 5x7, you're using a lot more stabilizer than what you really do, and you're trying not to do all those using all those parts. So this machine, like I said, I started off with it. It took me a year, but I really enjoyed using this machine. As you can see, this is the part when you use it for sewing. And then when you go ahead and take off this part of it, which is the arm, you take this arm off. You can have like a free arm. And then you just go in and put the embroidery part to it. And once you get that embroidery feature on there, you have your machine is ready to go. So this is what the machine looks like once you have the embroidery unit attached to it. So you can use it as an embroidery, you can use it as a quilting machine, and you can use it as a sewing machine. These machines, you probably find them more on eBay, people selling them, because of the fact, like I said, you have to have the card reader, and then you have to have the USB is a little different than what we're used to. I moved on to this machine here, which, as you can see, it's a different brand, different company. It's Husqvarna Viking Topaz 50. And when I was going to, the reason why I didn't get another Babylock, because I really liked the Babylock, was because the store that I was going to did not have layaway, and that's how I got my first machine, the Ellure Plus. And I really didn't have the funds to get another machine, so like I said, starting out, you have to do with what you can. So I put this one on layaway. I actually put the Topaz 30 on layaway. And when I went to get the Topaz 30 on layaway, I did a big mistake, something you should never do when you're buying equipment, and you all probably know this, and I learned my lesson myself. You should look at the reviews first. And the reviews on the Topaz 30, of course, the store I bought it from didn't tell me this, but the Topaz 30s were being eliminated. The reason why was there was a problem with the functioning part of the machine. So what they ended up doing was, I got my machine, I went to class, and sure enough, when I was in class, everybody had different machines again, close to what I had bought, and the machine itself started doing all the errors that was happening on the that they were saying on the reviews, and the reason why they were eliminating that machine. Now, again, I am not a representative of any of these companies. I am not trying to bash any of the companies down, but it was just that I had the exact same problem, so I let the people know that I had bought the machine. And another thing was that I didn't get the right machine. I had put a new machine on layaway, but they gave me one that was an open box. And the price, there was no difference on the price. So I was not real happy with what they were doing with that, because they should have given me a new machine. They didn't tell me everything else that was happening with the Topaz 30s. So needless to say, we haggled and whatever, and during that class, and I ended up going for the Topaz 50. The problem was now I had to pay more money, so I had to leave it on layaway a little bit longer. They let me use one of the machines there so that I can at least try and get some classes on the machine that I bought. The Topaz 50, I like it. It has some bigger frames, of course, than the Ellure Plus, and their system of hoops they're metric. So if you know your metric systems, you'll know how it works. A 120 by 120 is a little bit over a 4 by 4, but it's actually what you would do if you're using a 4 by 4 article, like if you're doing your onesies or you're doing little shirts for kids. That would be your 4 by 4. This is really a 120 by 120, so it's kind of in there. And if you notice, you have the sides that take from the part of what your project is. So you have to take that into consideration. But what I really liked about this one was the fact that you got a bigger hoop with it. And you had the opportunity of moving hoop sizes. This is a 360 by 200, which is a 7, kind of like a 7.5 by 14, so 7 by 14, but it has a wider area, so you are able to maybe put a light jacket. I say light because the hoop itself, you might have to go more for a magnetic hoop. And you're probably wondering, well, what is a magnetic hoop? And it's a metal hoop, and this metal hoop you have to buy, of course, for that company. This is another size that you can use. It's 130 by 180. So this is magnetic, meaning that you see those little magnet things that hold up the fabric. This helps you out because, as you see in the picture, they have jeans on there. And these other hoops, the fabric is too thick to go on there. So you could break your hoop actually by trying to put it and close down the hoop. But on your magnetic hoops, you have these magnets that you use, and you put it onto the fabric or the jacket or whatever it is that you're working on that's bigger than what it needs to be. And you have to be really careful with these magnets, because these magnets can actually hurt your computer on the machines, because now embroidery machines are all computerized. So you need to make sure that you keep your magnets away from the area where your computerized parts are, and when you put it on there. But as you see, it has a guide to help you, and the Ellure Plus also comes with these plastic guides to help you, so that when you're trying to center or trying to put your whatever it is that you're working on in the spot that you want it to. So this one here, this magnetic hoop, gives you a wider area. Like I said, this one works with the metric system, so you kind of have to if you're used to our system as far as the 5 by 7s, 4 by 4s, you just have to learn how to convert it, which is dividing, and you use your little math, and it's just whatever. But the main thing that I liked about it, like I said, was I could use a variety of hoops, whereas my Ellure Plus, I couldn't go higher than a 5 by 7 because they don't make hoops higher than a 5 by 7. But this allows you to do more projects, bigger projects, and now when you go to class, you can see that you can keep up with people if you have to take your machines. So that was one thing that I liked about the Husqvarna Nova, which I have a hard time saying the name of that company. One thing that I don't like about that is the bobbins. And on the bobbins, like if you buy the pre-wound bobbins, and on most of these machines you can buy a pre-wound bobbin. Pre-wound bobbin means that you're just going out and the bobbin already has a thread on it, so you don't have to wind it yourself. On the actual machine, the bobbins that come with this machine have two parts to it, and the bobbins that come with this machine have like a little section down here on the bottom. I don't know if you can see it, but this little section, you wind up the whole thing, and when your bobbin is almost empty, it'll let you know on this machine that your bobbin's coming down. And the thing is that there's still extra thread down here. I know I'm not a professional as far as a lot of these other people know how to make their machines work, and I'm just, you know, trying to get my little business going. But I always have a problem because there's still thread down here on the bobbin, and I never know if it's going to be enough. So I end up losing thread, wasting thread, because I just take it out when the machine lets me know. So I take it out and I go ahead and put in a new bobbin. But like I said, I really like the bobbins that are pre-wound, as you can see this comparison. I don't use the green ones as much for that reason, but there are people out there that really love this machine and the bobbins don't affect them at all. So that's really like a user friendly type of thing. This machine works a little different too. You can use this machine, and what you have to do is you buy software. Now you can get some, that's one thing that they don't tell you when you buy your machines, that you need a software. Now the software, there are companies out there that give you free trial on the software. And why do you need a software? In order to transfer designs to your machines. Some machines you can just get a design, put a USB stick into your computer, bring the design down, and then just take that USB stick and stick it into your machine. And your machine, as you notice, the machine has a part here where you can put your USB stick. These are the newer USB sticks. Now, the thing about the USB sticks is some machines you have to have the software in order to bring it down, download it to your computer, and then download it to your USB stick, so that you can put it into the machine. If you're trying to edit or change your colors of your thread, or change the order, or eliminate something, you can't do that much with the trial ones. But you can get designs out, and you can make a product that you can sell, because you could do a onesie. There's a little, let's say you make a little heart, or you make a little bunny for springtime or something like that. Some companies will put their designs that all you have to do is bring them down, download them onto your USB stick, and bring them to your machine, and automatically put them on your machine. Now this machine is one that you would have to really have a software to it in order to keep using your designs, and it would be better if you had a software program, but we'll talk about software programs later on in various videos, okay? Now, I showed you before the thread holder, and the reason why I really like this thread holder, it did not come with the machine, but I use it because when I'm planning out a project, or I'm getting ready to embroider, let's say it's a stuffed animal, or anything, any type of project, I like to have my threads already ready to go. If you just keep with what came with the machine, what happens is that you only can do one thread at a time, and so you're having to line them out, which is not a bad thing. You can line them all out, but when you have distractions anyway, and you tend to get everything, when you tend to get confused with everything, if you have a thread, or a thread stand rather, you can have your threads all ready to go. You have them down here in the order that you need them, and if you have more than 8 colors in your design, then you just take out the ones you don't need and keep it. But it just keeps me more focused onto what color comes next, instead of having them all on the table, because as you notice, my table area is not that big. So even though I do have a lot of machines, each area still has their part that may be a little bit smaller, and so I run out of room. So this was a good buy for me, and I can go ahead and thread. That's another thing about this machine, that you can buy a thread stand for your machine. So basically, I use this machine for sometimes I use it as my double machine. In other words, I'll have one project on my Quattro, I'll have one project here, and then I may have one on the 6 needle. Again, when you're starting out, I started out small, and it worked for me. I moved up. The problem with that the Ellure Plus was that I wanted to move up so quick, because having a 5x7 and a 4x4, all that you can work on when you want to do other projects, it just gets a little bit hard. But I'm not saying that that's anything wrong with that. It's a good way to start. So if that's how you can start, go that route. All right, so we're going to move on. This is an example of a USB stick that you would use. Now, on USB sticks, you're really supposed to get the ones that are 2 gigs or lower, but they quit making those. So you have to, if you can still find them, that's great. But if you can't, you can use any of the ones with the 8 gigs or try to get the smaller size that you can find. Because what the bigger size do is they hold too many designs and then the machines can't read it. You take your USB stick here and you stick it into the machine like that. And that's how you get your designs. That's so you can see what I was talking about for USB sticks. Now, on the Ellure Plus, you're going to see that this stick will not work there. So if you're considering on going on eBay to buy a machine, just make sure that your machine's going to be up to date, something that you can use, or the person who's selling you the machine has enough designs for you to start off with, because that's going to be your biggest problem, is finding designs, and the card reader. Like I said, in some machines that are started way back when were floppy disks. So it's all changed and the machines just keep expanding. You may get one and then 2 months later they didn't tell you that a new one was coming out. So now you're going, wow, I wish they would have told me that I spent this much money. So it's really something about the business that you have to do your research, do your companies, find out, because there's a lot of companies out there that are selling machines like Janome, Bernina, Pfaff, the multi-needle machines. There's a lot, like Happy, Brother. You have Brabin. I probably pronounced that wrong. You have SWF. So you have a lot of machines to look for. Just do your research and go to shows. That's how I did mine too. Now, we're going to go over here to the Brother Trilogy. This one, like I said, is one of my favorite machines because I can do Disney designs. I haven't turned any of the machines on just because my plugs are a problem, a situation, so I have to unplug one and go to the other. If you notice here, I haven't decided yet what to do with all my threads when I cut them down, because there's so much thread usage. And there's projects that you can make with those, and that's something different. And actually, some of the people with the embroidery machines and doing a business make designs with these, put them onto a garment and put them onto or a picture frame, and they've made an art out of the thread. So I haven't thrown mine away yet because that's what I plan on doing. I just haven't come up with it. If you notice, this one has the USB stick already on it because I've been using it. It has different parts to it that the Husqvarna didn't. It has a bigger area to work in, and the hoops, I always call them frames, I'm sorry. The hoops, this one you can use a whole lot of hoops with too. You can also use the Durkee frames, and we'll talk about Durkee hoops, sorry. We'll talk about Durkee hoops later. The thread stand, this was, like I said, on the Husqvarna, I like the thread stands. It keeps me well. This one I could do a 10 thread. That's the highest I could get right now. They may have some higher ones, but as you can see, my room runs out, and this is very close to my ceiling, and for the area that I'm using. So, but it still keeps me coordinated with my threads. It does have the spot for the thread. On this one, you can actually have 2 threads, but this one you can move, and it comes up this way. This one moves up. You can keep it in the positions. So it's all depending on what you're doing. Metallic threads can be used. Metallic threads can be used on any of these machines. So basically on that, this machine, my Disney machine, again, what I said before on my part 2 video, when you are selling items, and I know there's people out there that will make Disney products on this machine, or Brother's the only company that has Disney designs that you can put on there. So what happens is people will make their items with Disney designs, and then they go to try and sell them. But if you get caught on that, there's going to be a big problem because there's lawsuits on that. Hello Kitty, all of these, Avengers, any of those things that you make that you can get the designs on, unless it tells you, but just getting the rights to those, or you have to pay the company for the rights, and that's a lot of money. So I would highly recommend that before you decide to sell anything, make sure that you follow the copyright laws. Now, like I said, There are people out there that, you know, just figure, oh, it's okay, we can do what we want, and because I never get caught. So that's a chance that you take, and I would not recommend that. But I'm going to show you the hoops that come with this machine in a second. Okay, when I got my Brother machine, this is the part that came with it. And this is a case that holds your hoops. And this machine, like I said, it's a bigger machine. It has a whole lot more to it. You put your embroidery unit in here when you're traveling if you go to classes. It's always good to have a smaller machine when you go to classes or things that have you take workshops that say you have to bring your machine, because lugging this big machine to class gets really hard. And believe me, I've done it a couple of times, and I have my machines upstairs, and taking them downstairs is not fun. But anyway, this will carry your embroidery unit part, and it has the sections for your hoops. It has a lot more hoops on it. I have bought extra hoops. You can interchange some of the hoops between the Babylock and Brother, but not all of them. Some of the Babylock hoops work with some of the Brother machines because they're not the same company, even though there's a war going on between Brother and Babylock. But remember, I'm not affiliated with anybody. I don't work for anybody. I'm not selling any of the products. I'm just giving you what I have. Again, I'd like to stress that a lot. On the hoops, this one brings a lot. So like you can put them on there. I have them all over my room, and I use that pegboard up there that you saw near the Topaz machine because I use this one a lot. Now these hoops, you can have different sizes that come with the machine, and in the booklet you'll see the 3 sizes that comes with it. And if I were to look, the sizes are 4x4. They come in inches. They give you measurements in centimeters, where the Viking gives them to you in millimeters. So you really have to be careful when you're trying to figure out which hoop is the same coin in comparison to the other, because sometimes putting them next to each other, they don't look like they're the same size, but they are. So you get the 4x4 hoop, you get the 8x8 hoop, and you get an 8x12, which is the biggest one for this machine. And so you have all these hoops to work with, but you can also buy more hoops. I bought the smaller hoop. This is a 2x2 to do with little socks. And it actually makes it a little bit easier to do on some of the onesies if you're doing a smaller design. Like I said, mainly for the stabilizers. Now, one thing that I want to say about the comparison of all these hoops, and something that I love Brother, and mainly the machine that I use, there's no sizes on the hoops. So you have to, if you're good, and you can figure out your sizes, but when you're like me with so many distractions, all the sizes look the same. And so when I'm trying to compare them, I'm going, oh, this is a 4x4. No, this is a 5x7. So I don't like that part about the Brothers, that they don't give you a hoop size on their hoops. So sometimes you have to go around and try and figure it out by trial and error, which, like I said, people with distractions, we sometimes need those things put down in writing for us. I do know that people use markers, the permanent markers, the Sharpies, to write their hoop sizes on there. I haven't done it yet because everybody says it doesn't go onto your fabrics, but I don't know. And I mean, to me, it might wear off, but if you wanted to do that, that's a great idea that I learned from somebody. But as you see, I haven't done it yet and probably won't. I should, but I haven't. You can put labels. Now, the Ellure Plus is the same thing. They also don't put and this is a Babylock, they don't put on these machines that I have here, they don't have the hoop sizes either. So when you're buying hoops, you have to be very careful. And like I said, the Viking machine I really like because, as you see, they have their sizes on their hoops. They go by millimeters. So when you're looking for a company to buy your machine, that may not be something very important to you as to whether it has a size or not, whether it's in inches, whether it's in centimeters, whether it's in millimeters. But just remember that when you buy your hoops, that if you're not used to the metric system, you're going to have to figure that part out. And it's not that hard, really. I talked about Durkee frames. This is a Durkee frame that I bought for the Trilogy, and I was using it for caps. Now, it works for some caps and it doesn't work for other caps, depending on the height of the cap. and I really struggled because you have to tape the cap sides to it and everything. But you can use Durkee frames on the Trilogy. I'm not sure if you probably could, but I haven't tried it, so I don't want to say that you can on the Viking. But they have magnetic frames that you can use. And this is so if you're trying to get the cap in, you can't get every part to it, and you actually put the cap into the slot. The bill part goes into here, and then the part that you're going to embroider goes to there. So as you've seen, those are 3 standalone. I mean, they're all not standalone, but meaning they're single needle machines. They only have 1 needle. You can buy stands for some of them. I'm not sure if you can buy a stand for the Babylock Ellure, but then again, like I said, that's an older model, so I'm not sure on that. And I didn't look for it. But all 3 machines are combination machines, meaning that they're embroidery machines, they're quilting machines, and they're sewing machines. So you can take the arms off. Now, on the Trilogy, you don't have to take the embroidery arm off. So this part moves back, and it'll go all the way back up to about here. And you can actually sew on this machine, so you have that much room to be sewing, and you can quilt on this machine. And one of the things that I did do with this machine, which was really cool, the Trilogy also comes with a pen tablet, and this is a cool thing. You hook it up to your machine. You can write on here. You put your paper, and then you use this and you write over it. And what you do with this is it goes into the machine, your embroidery machine, the Trilogy, and it automatically makes your handwriting or whatever it is you wrote, it makes it into a design so that you can add that to your embroidery. If let's say you want to give them your name, or you want to put a little saying on there that you didn't use with the text, the fonts that are in the machine, but you wanted it to make it a little bit more special for the client or for your grandchild or whoever it is that you're making the product for, you can write, and then it'll turn into a embroiderable item. There's other machines that have come out in the market that you can scan in there, like the Dream machine from Brother, or the new one, the Luminaire machine. Those machines, and Babylock has one very similar. It's the same size and all. And so those machines, you can do a lot more things with them. And this one, you can at least do the tablet thing. You can trace an item that you saw, or maybe your grandchild drew something. Instead of, you can't scan it in, but maybe you could trace it in, and that could be made into a design for their shirt or something that you have. So that's an added thing to the Quattro Trilogy that's not on the other 2 machines that I have. Okay, one of the things I did with the Quattro machine was I actually quilted this. I first sewed this panel, and this is frozen. So just remember, again, I can't sell this. This is for my granddaughter when she comes to visit at my house. I have this on the bed. I embroidered the Elsa and Anna on there, and as you see, there's the Disney logo. So this is how you cannot sell it. I don't have the rights to sell it. So I used different Disney designs for Elsa and for Anna on there. And then once after I sewed the panel together with the pink and made the borders on it, I went ahead and quilted it. And what I did was I actually put the quilt on back on that machine. I put the embroidery unit back on. I made these first, but I put the embroidery unit back on, and then I made my little quilting designs on there. As you see, I went around the whole quilt, and that's how I quilted it, completed the quilt, by doing the designs from the Quattro machine. So that Quattro machine, if you're thinking about a business, on that Quattro machine, if you're thinking about a business, what you can do is, there's so much, because you can sew, then you can quilt, and then you can add embroidery, or like I did, I started with the embroidery designs. I sewed the panel together to the borders. Then I went ahead and put the backing, and the backing that I had for her, if you wanted to see, that's the backing. It's an Elsa fabric too. And so it's all together. And so that's another example of how you can work this. So you've seen like I said, you've seen the three machines. And then the last machine I'm going to show you is the 6-needle machine. Okay, this is the last machine as far as embroidery goes. This is the 6-needle. This is a Brother PR655. And I love this machine because, of course, you know, when you have a 6-needle, which is bigger, you have this arm here. You can actually just come in and put the onesie on here. You can put caps on here. You can put a shirt on there the way it sits. And it'll be a lot easier to put on so that you're not having to worry about what hoop goes in the hoop or what doesn't go in the hoop or how you're going to hoop it. It's a lot easier to do that. Now, when I bought this machine, I actually got it I got it from the quilt show last 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I forget. But anyway, I got it from the quilt show, and they, of course, were running different deals. And this is one way I was able to get a 6-needle, because I never thought I would be able to, because I mean, I had to charge it, but my husband helped me out. And what happened was, I asked them if they would sell me the floor model from the show, and because I wanted a different price, so I was haggling with them. And they were like, well, you know, we're not sure. We need to use it for the whole quilt show. But then they finally got it, and this was through All Brands, and they finally got it, which thank you very much, All Brands, for finally letting me have a machine, a 6-needle. It's a start. It's not a 10-needle or 16-needle or whatever, but at least it's a start, and I can do a lot more projects with it. It did come, they threw in the stand, and I had said in part 2 that the cap frame came with it, but it didn't. What I meant was this part of it came with it, but you have to buy this separately. Now, sometimes when you go to some of the shows or some of the expos or some of the classes, like All Brand used to offer classes, and in their classes, they used to, you know, have all these machines, and you didn't have to take your own machine, and you got to practice with everything that they had and rotate out, which is a really good thing to do. Sometimes they'll throw in the cap frames. So but I didn't get the cap frame, so I had to go out and buy the cap frame separately, because there's like 2 parts to it, and that's another investment. That took me about a year before I could actually buy the cap frame. And as you see, it's all the business. You don't realize everything that's incorporated into it. People don't tell you this. You start out small, like I did with the Allure Plus, and then you build yourself up to where you end up, depending on where you want your business to go to. But on the stand, they have pegs so that you can put your hoops on there. This is another frame that I bought in order to be able to do duffel bags. I've made a duffel bag for my for a drill team before, and this is also a Durkee hoop, and you can use it for different things where the frames don't fit. So you have different options on this. It is another investment, but it's a good investment. And you can use it, like I said, try it for caps, or you can actually put a duffel bag on that when I was doing these are the frames that come with it. And as you see, there are different types of frames. These frames, hoops, those are called frames. These are called hoops. So that's why I get them confused. I'm sorry for all of you that it irritates you. I do apologize for that. But on this machine, as you notice, the actual hoops do tell you their sizes. Sorry, it's upside down. But they tell you the sizes on them. And as you see, this is millimeters. In the book for the other one was saying centimeters. And then you have your inches. So, and they're telling you that's 3.9 by 3.9, so that's a 4x4 hoop basically. So you, like I said, when you change between companies, you really have to be careful as to your hoops. Now, I really wish that Brother would do what they just did with this one, and how they put their hoop sizes on there, so that you can actually understand, you know, when you're grabbing something from real far. You just pick it up real quick, and then you can check your sizes. The stand on the other side of it, that's where I keep the hoops that came with the machine. It has shelves. This is the cap frame driver that you need for it. It all comes together. And I'm going to say it's a little pricey. It's about $1,000 depending on your company or who you buy from. Now, some companies, not Brother and some of these others, but if you go to an expo like the ISS show, which is an apparel convention type show, they have classes, and they also have all types of machines, like the heat transfer, the printers that you need for all that, rhinestones, the machines, and there's so many machine companies that come out. Go to that, because that's going to help you. I didn't know about all that to begin with, so I didn't realize what is out there. Not just your dealer, not just the shop that you bought your machine from. Find out from everybody, because there are so many conventions that you can go to, and they really help your business out. So I'm going to show you this machine here. This is a serger. It is not an embroidery machine. But when you're making an item from scratch, let's say that you decide to make a little dress, or you make a little shirt for your grandson, or a bathing suit trunk or something, you can actually start making it here using your serger if you know how to serge. Or you can start on a sewing machine and then take the part that you need, embroider it with one of your embroidery machines, then come back here to the serger. And serging does is it makes the end parts to your shirts. Like if you see this shirt right here, this hem here, it can be hemmed. The hem is made easier when you have a serger, and it comes out looking more professional. So that's the serger, and you see how you can do this on a sewing machine, but it's a lot easier and more professional looking on a serger. That's a different type of machine altogether that you may or may not, but I was just letting you know that I have one. I don't use this one, like I said in part 2, because I have to take it to the shop, but I do have a different one that I like too. And this is my other serger, and this is the newest model too that I just got not too long ago, and it's the Ovation. It's also by Babylock. It is a serger, and it's something that, you know, a lot of people don't have, or they do have, because it makes up for helping you. Like I said, with the Evolve one, you can go ahead and design something, make it from scratch, a shirt, a jacket, or you know, just a frame or something, and then you use the serger, add your embroidery to it, and then go ahead and complete it on the serger. And the serger helps you to have the fabric already opened up, so you're not struggling trying to get it into a hoop. So what I'm letting you know is that with the business, you start out small, try and keep focused, because that is a major part of all of this, is staying focused, and work your way. But most importantly, make sure that it doesn't matter what machine you're using, you can turn it into a profitable business with that machine. You may just end up moving up from the machine you started out with, and then end up going to something bigger or add. One of the things that you might realize too is, as you notice, I didn't eliminate some of these machines, because sometimes since I don't have a lot of, you know, what they call multi-heads, which is the same machine and you just hook them up together, and you can do like 6 caps at one time. Well, basically the way I'm set up, I can actually do that with the 2 single machines and then use the 6 needle machine. The only thing that happens is sometimes the designs, you cannot save them exactly how it comes out. You know, what you want to do as far as the colors, they don't look the same on the machine, so it kind of confuses you. But for the most part, I have been able to do that. Now, sometimes it gets crazy trying to run 3 machines at one time. The 6 needle, you can definitely just keep it going by itself, unless there's a problem, it jams, or needle breaks, or thread breaks, or something. But the single needles, it gets a little crazy, because you may be at one step with one, that machine stops, so now you have to switch the thread. You go to the other machine that you were working, the other single thread machine, and you run over there, you change the thread, and then you get confused as to where you're headed. So when you have ADD, ADHD, running 2 single machines on the same project sometimes can be a crazy. If you do different projects, it may get crazy anyway, but it may keep you a little bit more focused on one, and you know where you dropped off to where you're going with the next one. So I hope you enjoyed this and seeing the different machines that I use. how I use them, what they're for, and I also hope that this is helping you to see that even though you may have distractions, you can do it. Just be careful, do your research, do your business plan, try and keep up with what you're trying to find as far as machine goes. Make sure that if you want a business machine, that you don't start too small where you're going to have to start investing in something else, because hoops cost money, software costs money, stabilizer, threads, all of that is involved in it. So, but you're trying to keep your focus, start simple, and then work your way up. Thank you. See you next time. Part 4 will probably give you, I'm going to decide whether I do one little project on one of the machines or if I go to the heat transfer side of the business. Thank you. Bye. And don't forget, it's hard to beat someone who never gives up. Don't give up. Stay focused, and I'll see you next time. Bye.